Hey everybody, welcome back to Tim Travels. Here with my sidekick Beatrice. What? By the way, somebody commented that the only good thing about my videos is B. So here's B. What you looking at, Missy? I hope you saw her. Sorry about the glare. Okay, so we're in Cheyenne, Wyoming. Cheyenne's the capital of Wyoming, as you all know. Wyoming was the first state to give women suffrage. I think it was definitely, it was before 1920 when the Constitution was amended to give women suffrage. But I think maybe around 1914. I'd have to look that up, but I'm not a good, I don't know my women's suffrage history well enough. But if you're ever in Western New York or Western Central New York, go to Seneca Falls. There's a whole National Historic Site there about women's suffrage, and Susan B. Anthony and Elizabeth Cady Stanton and people like that. And also yeah. So there are a lot of other women that were involved in it, but anyway. So yesterday I did a video that I said I was happy that we netted $1.31 to the truck for last week, and the reason I was happy is because it was a positive outcome. We have weekly expenses that are unavoidable. Well, I guess they're avoidable. I could just quit what I'm doing. But I got some people, mainly this guy Jeremy Griggs, who basically told me I was a frickin' moron for being happy about that. And happy is a relative term, right? Like, I'm happy that I haven't been involved in a mass shooting today, but I'm not having a cupcake over it. I'm just, I'm happy that things turned out that way so far. And that's kind of how I am happy about the $1.31, because my initial response to him was, well, it could have been, I still could have been 1,600 in the hole, and the work I was doing now would be to catch up from that. But since he questioned, a lot of stuff, I got to thinking about this, and maybe I'm the one that's a moron. Maybe I don't know what I'm talking about. But I will say this, I only talk about myself, right? I give out general information about stuff, and people can take it or leave it. I just told you about women's suffrage here in Wyoming. The fact that I know that, or now maybe you didn't know that and you know it now, we're probably not going to make any money off that. But it's just a piece of information, right? And so I think information's good. But I got to say this, right? When I look at the trucking industry, I have to ask, am I a creep? Am I a weirdo? When people like him say stuff, I'm like, what am I doing here? I don't belong here. It shakes my confidence. Anyway, I'm going to discuss some, because I kind of alluded to this, but I'm going to discuss some of the line items. So some of the things that we paid for with the revenue that we made. And I'm going to discuss why I think that for me, and really, and by the way, I didn't make $1.31. The company that leases this truck made $1.31. Okay, I'm a W-2 employee. I still got my pay and my per diem. Right? That's how being an employee is. So, it's sunny here, but it's not too hot. But sorry again for the glare, but it's like the sun is beating down on me. Okay, so these are not these are numbers, they're just round numbers, right? They're exact, except that I didn't include the cents. And by the way, if you do your own taxes, you know you don't have to put the cents in when you're like filling out IRS forms. You could just round, right? You can round to the nearest dollar. The IRS doesn't care. I learned that from a guy that was a professional tax preparer. He's like, yeah, you know, I don't need 31 cents. They don't care about that. So that might save you a couple of minutes. Okay, so basically revenue to the truck, and again, this was for 2 days, day and a half actually, $1,630. Okay, then I had a bunch of deductions, right? APU rental, that's $70 a week. Tolls, my fuel card costs $1 a week just to have it, so it's $52 a year. Okay, there's federal highway tax, licenses and permits, right? Because you got to have a base plate. I have a deferred payment of $30 a week, and that's a deferral on 1 week's lease payment because I went to the ACE2 class, and I talked about that earlier. Then my lease payment, and I say the lease payment on the truck, $1,054. That is the standard lease payment at Prime. Operating statement. We pay $15 a week to get extensive, detailed statements from Prime that include the invoices that were sent to the customers. Those statements make it very easy to, at the end of the year, provide information that either the driver or somebody with the driver, whatever we use, or their accountants. And we have CPAs that we use, and we're not trying to be rock stars here. Insurance, $28.56 a week. Now, that's insurance with Prime. That's through Prime. It's a group policy. We also have other insurances that we wanted to have. Prime didn't mandate it. We want to have them, like cargo claim insurance. And I'm going to circle back to cargo claim in a minute. But for instance, if I screw up, right, and you know, forget to fuel my reefer, and you know, $20,000 worth of steaks gets destroyed, I have insurance to pay that claim. So anyway, performance bond, $30. That's $30 a week for the first year of your lease. There's a performance bond. And I think it's supposed to aggregate, it's for 50 weeks actually, because it's a $1,500 performance bond. And I'll come back to that in a minute too. And then I spent $23.37 at one of the terminals. Don't tell my wife. Okay, so then I mentioned claim insurance. I actually had a claim. It was on my second load. So the first week I was here, I screwed up and I didn't secure a load properly. And what happened was it tipped over, and sorry about this. What the heck? Okay. And Walmart was butthurt about it. And so the claim was $1,667. And you know, that's totally my fault, right? It's totally my fault. So Prime fronted that money, and they're interest free, and they're taking out $200 a week until the claim is paid off. And I think it has, starting this week, I have $667 left to pay. So basically 33 weeks of payments left. Okay, then there's fuel tax, and then there's a mileage charge, okay, of $29.26. Now, one of the things I said in the previous video was that when I took this lease over, or when the company I worked for took it over, there was 100 weeks left on the lease. And there was money in the tire fund, there was money in warranty, and then of course I contribute to the tire fund. And you know, some people had opinions about that. So, but it is what it is, right? Like, here's the thing. I've advised, well, I've probably looked at, I've either reviewed, written, or edited, marked up, whatever you want to call it, thousands of contracts for businesses. Thousands. I'm talking commercial leases for property, leases for equipment, which, by the way, this is, you name it. NDAs, teaming agreements, purchase agreements, employment agreements, and anything. You know, I've like securitized stuff. I've collateralized intellectual property in documents for bridge loans. I mean, you name it, right? Loan docs, all sorts of stuff. So, but where I'm going with this is that, you know, with the mileage charge, with some of this other stuff, I know that it's happening, right? Like, no one's hiding the ball, because I read the frickin' contract, right? I agreed to it. It's what they call, and this is a legal term of art, the bargain for exchange, right? For me, right, it was the cost of this contract to me is worth the benefit I get. That's the bargain for exchange, okay? It doesn't matter if there's a better contract out there. It doesn't matter if I could have made more money driving for Landstar or somebody else, or, you know, none of that is relevant here, okay? And I think people need to get that, right? None of that is relevant to me, okay? And what I'm doing, what my wife and I are doing, what our business is doing, okay? So let's talk about the tire fund and stuff like that. So in the tire fund, there was a carryover of $2,550. And I think earlier I might have said $4,000, and maybe I was aggregating some other stuff. But so specifically carryover on the tire fund, $2,550. Currently, the current tire fund, meaning money that the truck has contributed to the tire fund since we started driving it, and I want to make that number's $400, okay? But let me make an important distinction here. Somebody asked, well, how come, like, when you quit your lease, the person didn't get their tire fund money back? Well, let me answer a question with a question. If you leased a car, you went down and you leased a new Corvette, and let's say that you had it put on a truck, right? You had it delivered to your house, and then you never drove it, but you had given them like a $6,000 security deposit. And then after about a year, even though it's a 3-year lease, you're like, I don't want the Corvette anymore. I'm just gonna give it back to you. Here you go. It's brand new. It's pristine. It's got 0 miles on it because I never drove the thing. I never drove it. I just trailered it somewhere. Do you think you're getting that security deposit back? No, you're not. Oh, you know how I said I've looked at lots of contracts? I used to represent Chrysler Motor Credit. I can tell you with a high degree of certainty that if you turn a leased car in, you're not going to be happy with the numbers. And you're not going to be happy with the judgment. Either that you're not going to be happy that you not only give them their car back, but then have to pay them a bunch of money. Or you're not going to be happy with the judgment that a guy like me would obtain against you in a court of law. Okay? So, the person walked away from the lease. Keep in mind, at Prime, when they say it's a walkaway lease, it is. Now, that means you're not going to owe them anything. But it also means they're not going to give you anything back. Okay? And if you think about it, if you objectively think about that, you're like, that sounds fair. Right? Like why would a company like do hold money back for maintenance, for performance bond, for all this other stuff, and then you're like, I quit, and they're like, okay, well, here's all your money back too. Like, that's not a good business model. And and if that was their business model, well, they wouldn't be in business. Okay, the company wouldn't have been around for 50 years. That just wouldn't work. You wouldn't do it. I wouldn't do it if I was running the business. So why would you expect that they would? Okay, stop expecting people to do stuff just because you think you like it. That's not how the world works. Okay, so carryover $2,550, current tire fund $400, and then there's also a carryover warranty, and there's $1,934 in that. Now, stay focused here, because we're going to run a reverse on this play. You got to keep your eye on the ball. Okay, so in the trucks, the company's tire/performance bond / emergency fund, there is $640. Okay, now I'm going to tell you what that aggregates, how that's aggregated. 400 of it is from my current tire fund, right? Because I remember I said I got 400. And then the other is from the performance bond, and we don't really contribute to the emergency fund. So the 640 or the 240, if you divide 240 by 30, I bet it comes out to 8 weeks. Magical. Okay. Now, I don't know what's going to happen in the future. Okay? I don't practice Santeria. I don't have a crystal ball. I don't have a way to tell. Now, I will say this. If I had $1 million, I probably would spend it all. But that's how this all happened. That's how we got to the $1.31. Because all of these charges kind of came out. But guess what? If after 100 weeks, we're still in this truck, which we will be, all that money that's left over, tire fund, performance bond, emergency fund, that all comes back to us after we net out refurbishment costs, like there is a requirement, and oh, by the way, it's in the contract for the tires. The tires can't just pass DOT. They have to have more tread than just DOT. And I can't remember what the measurement is on the tire depth, but it's specified, right? They're not hiding the ball. It's not a trick, right? So I know that when I go in for the inspection on this truck, if we get a depth gauge and there's not enough tread, I know that what Prime is going to do is they're going to be like, okay, you need these many tires. And they're going to take that money out of the pile of money that's in the tire fund. And by the way, one of the other advantages at Prime is, I got these people saying, oh, well, I got a friend that makes $6,000 to $10,000 a week. And, with his truck, you're getting ripped off. And, here's my response to that. First of all, man, I can't get this right. What am I doing wrong here? First of all, I don't care about your friend. That's his business, not mine. That's the first thing. Second thing is this. I know people at Prime, like friends of mine, people whose YouTube channels I also watch, but people who I talk to on the phone, have lunch with, etc., that make in excess of $10,000 a week. gross revenue. Like my friend Lyle, I think he made like 14 and change a few weeks ago. And then he took like, I don't know, 3 weeks off. The dude barely works, right? And you know, he ran like a scalded dog with a trainee. So there's a trade-off, right? But I've had weeks where my gross revenue has been, you know, over $7,000. So there's your 6 to 10. But here's the thing, right? You know, I don't have to pay, you know, I don't have to come out of pocket for anything, right? Prime is financing me. Yeah, I'm making their truck payment, but they're also financing me. You know that $28 a week we pay for insurance? Go to somebody as just buy a truck, and as an independent operator, independent contractor, owner operator, go to an insurance company and say, yeah, I need all the commercial insurances for this truck. They're going to ask for a down payment of something insane like $2,000 for commercial insurance, and then your premiums are going to be, you know, like $200 a week. Go to somebody, you know, go to somebody and say, hey, I need new steers for my truck, and see what it costs, right? We get tire discounts, fuel discounts. I'm at Love's right now, $3.59 for diesel. I don't know what I would have to pay. I actually fueled my reefer here earlier, I should know, but I don't pay attention to it. Why? Because I paid something like $2.40 a gallon for that fuel. So there are a lot of advantages, right, to what Prime offers. And there's a huge safety net at Prime. That's why it works for me. You know? Like, I see people rolling through truck stops. They're turning wrenches on their trucks. It's a weekend. They're laying on the freaking pavement where somebody pissed so they can turn wrenches on their truck. Guess what I don't do? I don't turn wrenches on trucks. Why? Because I'm not a truck mechanic. I have it set up where I don't have to. Okay? I don't have to worry about where money for a tire is coming from. I've seen guys at truck stops I've seen guys trying to get advances from people, from shippers, at truck stops, at Walmart parking lots, at all sorts of places. Why are they trying to get an advance? The answer is they're out of money. Now maybe that load pays $6,000, but it doesn't pay $6,000 for another 30 days. That's why when you go to these load boards, guess what advertisement you see? It's not mine. The dude's grabbing a bag of trash from beside my truck. I'm like, dude, it's not mine. I wouldn't do that shit. But he gave me the stink eye. Anyway, you know, I don't factor anything. I get paid. Like, I held a load for General Mills. I don't think General Mills has paid Prime yet. But guess what? I already got paid for it. They're financing me, right? They're financing me. If I was an independent contractor, owner, operator, you know, no company, using my own motor carrier, General Mills would get around to looking at my invoice in about 30 days, right? And then they'd take another 15 to 30 to get a check out the door. I've been in a business where that's how everybody rolled. And you got to have, you're bankrolling your customers like that, you know? And so if you think that I don't get the fact that I get paid almost immediately for loads, like I can send a trip sheet in on Wednesday morning at 11:50 Central Time, and on Friday morning, so a day and a half later, that money's in my account. after all the costs have been, netted out and everything. So if you think you're doing so much better than somebody else, you're probably deluding yourself. Every once in a while I meet with a client and when I practice law, and they'd be like, hey, so we talked to this other law firm, Dewey, Cheatham and Howe, and Dewey, Cheatham and Howe says they have a much better way to get the results we want. And they've just cracked this code. They've figured out something, and they got like the cog on this, right? And I would look at my clients and I would say, do you think that they're the smartest lawyers in the world? Do you think that no other lawyer anywhere would have thought of this? And my clients said, I'd be like, oh yeah, you're probably right. And when I would have clients like startup businesses, I represented a lot of startup businesses. Some of them were successful, some not. And one of the questions I would always ask is, hey, so we've talked a lot about your vision and where you want to be in 10 years and how you're going to get there, but who are your competitors? If somebody said, oh, we don't have any competitors, I would look them straight in the eye and I would say, yes, you do. You just don't know who they are. If one person's got a secret sauce, I guarantee that 3 other people got it too. It's not a secret. They might not have stolen the idea from this other person. They just thought of it themselves. Okay? And in business, sometimes it's whoever gets to the USPTO first. That's the Patent and Trademark Office. Sometimes that's really what determines who becomes a billionaire and who doesn't. Okay? But in this industry, if there's somebody that says, yeah, man, I'm clearing 10,000 a week, my response is not, oh, no, you're not, because I must know better. No, my response is, man, that's awesome. That's awesome, dude. Now, if they are, they are. I don't know how they're doing it, but that's okay, right? Or I might even say, wow, that's awesome. What do I need to know, right? What is it that I could do better? But what they're doing is not my business, really. Maybe they never pay taxes. Maybe they don't save for anything. Maybe if their turbo goes up, their truck's going to be down for a month because they gotta, like I told this guy, you have a turbo go down and you don't have the cash to fix it. You're going to be working at Burger King shifts until you get the money. I mean, there are people in this business who quit trucking when their truck needs a repair. And they go do something else until they get enough money and decide to go back to doing trucking. That's not what I'm here for. I want to keep the wheels turning. And I got a system, and I'm working with a company that will help ensure that. So that's my thing. That's what works for me. So, I'm happy I wasn't negative last week. That's it. So anyway, I hope you all have a good Sabbath day. Hope you are traveling safely, and we'll see you next time. Bye.